Baratunde this past February at a 2020 dance conference in New York City, and he was performing there, and we had the pleasure of meeting him afterwards. So just a little background on him. He just got back from performing in London, and he is an author, and his book that's on sale now, you can buy it on his website. It's called Better Than Crying. And if you would like to, his website is really easy to remember. It's just www.baratunde.com. And afterwards, he's going to pass around an email list if anybody would like to sign up for that. And so, basically, when Alex and I met him after the show, he changed our lives. You can, a lot of times when you go up to performers afterwards, they're sort of, yeah, definitely, let's do something. But he followed through, and we are so pleased to have him here. So give Baratunde a round of applause.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful introduction. Please, folks, give it up for Caroline and Alex from the Dickinson College Democrats. What's up? You guys happy? Are you excited? I said, are you happy? Are you excited? We're in like a basement. I feel like some sort of revolutionary meeting. It's great. All right, so you take him from the right, okay? We'll get him coming out of Congress, and boom, hit him in the head. Y'all not open at the revolution, I see. You are, good. Guy in the front row. That's great. And I noticed you guys all showed up like at the exact same time. Is that normal? Do you guys just normally, is there one bus that dropped you off from the hub? You just really, really prompt people. You're exactly late. I think you're like 7 minutes late. Isn't that the official college time? 7 minutes after. That's very good. I like to start out, actually, all my shows with a little poetry. Do you guys like poetry? A little poetry. I love it. Actually, before I do we have any fans of George W. Bush here? Just clap if you. And that, yeah, I definitely have a poem for you. Definitely have a poem. Just got to see where I am. The poem is called Giggle Giggle. No, the poem is called What's Up? What's up? My gay marrying, commie loving, non-gun toting, freedom hating, Cuba trading, Prius driving, Mecca praying, troop cutting, tree hugging, Times reading, filibustering, latte sipping, baby killing, book learning, ape descending, veggie eating, free speaking, latte sipping, book learning, all that stuff. I'm talking about God bashing, fag hagging, tube removing, vote adding. I'm talking about flag burning, flip flopping, windsurfing, bin Ladens. I'm talking about chicks working, dudes cooking, draft dodging, French looking, liberals. Good evening and welcome to your show. My full name is Baratunde Rafiq Thurston. It's a long name, got a lot of meaning, y'all. Baratunde is a Nigerian name, means one with no nickname. Rafiq, that's an Arabic name, means really no nickname. And Thurston, you should pay attention here. Thurston is actually a British name. It means property of Master Thurston. Can see some of y'all didn't expect that last one. That's all right. Neither did we. So I have this Nigerian name, but I'm not actually Nigerian. This confuses a lot of people. Like most people think it's different or interesting or unique. Some even see it as a valiant attempt on the part of my parents to reconnect with our African roots. Everybody thinks this, except actual Africans. I found this out growing up. I called a friend of mine, and his father happened to be Nigerian. His father happened to answer the phone. Hello? Who is calling? Sir, this is Baratunde. Where did you get that name? I just assumed he was pointing at me at the time. I'm real stressed out. I got it from my parents. Do you even know what it means? And I did. I was so proud. I had him here. Said, literally, it means grandfather returns or one who is chosen. No. It means grandfather returns or one who is chosen. But sir, listen to me. This is the problem with you African Americans. You have no history, no culture, No roots. You think you can wear dashiki, steal an African name, and become African? You cannot. Whew. Okay, right now I just think I called at the wrong time. And what you guys need to know is at the time Captain Nigeria decided to enlighten me on the false history of my people, I was 8 years old. That's like a lot of pressure on a little 8-year-old. And it really influenced the way I dealt at that time with my fellow Africans. Now, I grew up in a black city. And if you wanted to diss somebody, I can tell most of you guys probably did too, actually. And if you wanted to diss somebody, you call them an African booty scratcher. I can tell most of you guys probably did that too. Right? I never did. I was one of these conscious children. My mom raised me in a very specific way. And if anybody ever used that kind of language, I felt it was my duty to step up and say, listen, children. Because that's how I talk to my fellow 8-year-olds. Can you not see that the man is teaching you to hate yourself by teaching you to hate your brother? I was mad articulate too, you understand? And that father flipped out on me, had a little change of heart. Well, children, seems you had a point. Upon further reflection, it occurs to me after much study and research that yes, indeed, Africans are more prone to scratching their buttocks than people from other continents. It's so obvious. So obvious. Now, by show of hands, I know most comedians do things like, by round of applause, clap for this. By round of applause, clap for that. I ask you to show hands because I'm different. By show of hands, how many people here have heard of or actually have parents? That's good. I just want to make sure what happened. You never heard of parents? They're these things. They produce you. Advanced robot technology. And so I was raised by a parent. I was raised by my mother. And my mother, well, actually, keep your hands up. You have parents, you've heard of them. Keep your hands up if you think of your parents as hippies. All right. So you with the big sunshine on your T-shirt. It's not obvious at all in the long hair. What made your parents hippies in your eyes? Like, what did they do that you're like, oh, these guys are such goddamn hippies? Like,
they smoke pot.
They smoke pot. That's pretty. They're hippies. Give it up for the pot smoking. Now, very, very important question. Did they ask you to join in?
Yes.
Okay. Those are some hippie-ass parents. Who else raised their hand for having hippie-ass parents? You with the hair, yes. What did your parents do that they just gave it away?
I saw pictures of my parents from back
Back in the day, yeah.
bell-bottom.
Okay.
And just,
And like flowers and, yeah, believed in peace and crap like that, yeah. So annoying, right? Damn hippies, I tell you. My mom's dead giveaway was the homemade tofu. And if you've never had homemade tofu, which I'm assuming most of you haven't except maybe the pothead in the back, because he was hungry, let's admit it. He'd eat anything. Thanks for playing along and not shooting me, I appreciate that. My mom was really obsessed with health food. And so we couldn't just go to like the organic section of the grocery store. We couldn't go to a Whole Foods because back in the 80s there was no such thing as Whole Foods. We had to go to these little places called cooperatives. And that just sounds hippie. It's like, oh, everybody gets together and does things. That's a cooperative. And so we would go to a store which is about half the size of this room. And you know it's a co-op because they give you like a free copy of The Socialist Worker when you get there. And like a recycled diaper / shopping bag. And some free weed. And as a kid, one of the most enjoyable things is the cool cereals that you get to have. Like, I had dinner at the Hubton, and the people I ate with, who are theoretically adults, they actually had Lucky Charms. And that is an indulgence that I never had as a kid. I never had Frosted Mini Wheats or even Honey Nut Cheerios. Grape Nuts was like too corporate for my mom. Okay, my cereal was so natural, I had mulch, people. Like, that's not funny. It's actual mulch. It really hurts to this day. And like soy milk, not good enough. Skim milk, hell no. Free range Arctic mountain goat milk was the choice in my particular household. And while most of you, I'm sure, went to some kind of school at some point where a bully would perchance steal your lunch, I was never so lucky. So I had to try to instigate fights with bullies to take my shit. And in every elementary school, there's that one kid who's like way too old to be in elementary school. You know, he like lifts weights. Like he puts on deodorants. You know, he's got 5 kids of his own. You're like, dude, how are you in 6th grade? I don't understand that. And in my school, it was this dude named Tyrone. And so I would walk up to Tyrone, you know, because I wore a blazer when I was 8. I'm like, yo, Tyrone, you ain't nothing but a punk, chump, sucker MC. Because sucker MC was bad in the 80s. You understand? And I would just run. What you gonna do, Tyrone? You gonna steal my lunch? Oh no! And it was a great escape. It really was. But my mom also taught me some great things. I mean, like, you know, kids sometimes watch Saturday morning cartoons. We would have lessons. She'd be like, and here's where apartheid started. And I'm like 5. You know, I'm just like, yes, Mom, yes. And but she taught me a lot about like being aware of contradictions and being aware of the media especially. And I'm sure you guys have classes like that here on media awareness and consumerism and all this stuff. And one of the things that bugs me to this day is when I see something that has its own name, a location especially, and it's called, I don't know, like the Carlisle Convention Center. But then up comes the corporation and they rename it like the Shit Quattro Razor Pro Frosted Mini Wheats Palladium Stadium. You're like, what? Was that really necessary? And now, I'm not really a huge fan of NASCAR. Y'all might be able to tell. But doesn't rub off. I've tried. But it bothered me nonetheless when I turn on the TV and I see this innocent NASCAR race which has been transformed into the Budweiser shootout. Let's think about this. We have an event here where gentlemen get into a vehicle and they race around in a circle at 200 miles an hour, sending auto parts and body parts flying out into the stands, decapitating people. And the one thing they think is missing is alcohol and gunfire. I don't get that. Then to top this off, there's actually a great charity event, which was a bicycle ride. I took part in. You ride your bike from New York all the way to Boston, and you raise money for AIDS treatment as well as prevention. And it was called, anybody know? Can you guess?
AIDS treatment prevention?
Even better, the AIDS ride. Right? It was just simple. It was called the AIDS ride. It's like, oh, I wonder what Baratunde is doing. Maybe he's riding for AIDS. Okay, that's great. Then up comes along a noble corporation which says, no. We got to call this the Tanqueray AIDS ride. Tanqueray, people. That's the liver cancer causing home wreck and making you want to have sex with somebody at night you know you wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole during the day. Liquor company, Tanqueray. Now they fight STDs. And it took me a while to figure out what their message was, and then I realized it was quite simple. Just don't get HIV. Instead, get drunk with our product, have unprotected sex, and wake up with HIV. And I was thinking, like, you know, a lot of people could use some twists like this, and PBS is always hard up for cash. PBS, by the way, is the official liberal network because they, what is that they have? The Truth? Apparently the Truth is like left-wing now. The PBS is always hard up for cash, but they don't have real commercials. They have these corporate sponsorships. I can just see the day when they have that frontline domestic violence special made possible by Smirnoff. Because if you don't remember, it didn't happen. This doesn't make any sense at all. And I know it's hard for a bunch of y'all to tell, but for most of my life, I wasn't what you'd call a ladies' man. I was more of a ladies' friend, a ladies' buddy, a ladies' homeboy, a ladies' pal. See, I was a little too nice. You know, I listened too well. I was a shoulder to cry on too often. I held the door open too much. And women, I found out later, were looking for something a bit more assholic. Fellas know what I'm talking about. And that's not what I had to offer. And there was this one woman who I was really close with, and it was actually during college. And we would spend all kinds of time together. We actually had breakfast together every morning. Like, married people don't even do that. All right? We would go for walks together, sometimes holding hands. And we would have sex in the Burger King bathroom. Like, I'm just kidding. There was no sex. No sex at all. And so I lived with this until one day my boy Jesse said, you got to tell this woman how you feel. You really do, because it's obvious she feels the same way about you. Now, she had a boyfriend at the time. She spent all this time with me, but he was like, look, if she really, really liked him, she would be spending time with him. Why is she spending all this time with you? You just need to step up. You just need to be a man about it. And she will come to you. And I was like, all right, so I got myself, I was like, yes, this is going to be great. And obviously this ends in an interesting and tragic way, or else it wouldn't be comedy. And so I told her like that I was basically in love with her, and she basically freaked out. And things didn't quite go down the way Jesse had said they would go down. And she was mad at me, and she wouldn't talk to me for months. She got mad. She said I ruined the friendship, y'all. I tried to explain to her that was the point. She didn't find it nearly as amusing as you just did. Not at all. Not at all. But I wanted to play a little interactive game. Y'all familiar with that Busta Rhymes song, Make It Clap? You know, you make it clap. So we're going to do it together, right? You make it clap. You make it clap. All right, so we're going to do a little voting here. We're going to try to figure out who is the cause of Baratunde's heartbreak in this particular situation. Now, how many people think that a woman with a boyfriend who spends as much time as she did with me, once again, walks, holding hands, no sex in the Burger King bathroom, but still, last time, how many people think maybe she led me on a little bit and maybe she is to blame? Make it clap. Make it clap. Okay, that's respectable. That's respectable. Now, how many people think that a boyfriend who is okay with his lady spending all this unsupervised time with a fine young specimen such as myself, how many of y'all think that maybe he was asleep at the wheel, maybe he's a bit to blame? Make it clap. Just a smattering, Jesus. Make it clap. Okay, a little bit. Now this is kind of, I'm going to be open and honest. I'm going to throw everything on the line here, okay? I want to ask, how many people think that I was a bit naive, a bit foolish, and a bit selfish, and maybe I brought this on myself and should have just kept my big mouth shut? Make it clap. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I don't think I make it clap. Oh, Caroline, if you hadn't brought me here, whew, we'll talk after the show. I think my rate just tripled. Yeah, I know. From 0, haha, it's funny, yeah. I can do math, I'm in college, all right. And finally, there's one person we haven't accounted for in this particular scenario. How many people think that my friend Jesse, who advised me on this situation, who assured me of certain victory, how many people think that Jesse is to blame? Make it clap. Make it clap. Y'all are my people. I love you. I love you. And I'll tell you why I really think Jesse is to blame in this situation. Because Jesse gave me some bad intelligence. You see, Jesse assured me, he told me it was going to be a slam dunk. Okay? He told me if I went in, I would be greeted with open arms and love and flowers. Instead, I found myself hit with a rocket-propelled grenade of rejection. So all I'm saying is we're in Iraq now, and we have a very difficult task ahead of us. Very challenging situation. And I like that one, too. I was like, oh, that's a great joke. It's a great joke. It's very challenging. The thing that got me the most irritated and I found the most absurd is when we first got there, we gave the Iraqis 6 months to write up a constitution. That's some, as our president might say, that's hard work. Okay, it's really hard work. I mean, by round of applause, how many people here have ever tried to write a constitution before? Any? You're lying, right? You just ruined a perfectly good joke. You're not supposed to say yes. Well, damn it, I got to improvise now. Did you successfully complete this constitution? For that, I'm talking about for a nation, man. With armies and shit. Does your club have an army? How many people tried to write a constitution for a nation state with a damn army? Thank you. Gotta get specific with college kids. Damn. Well, I tried to do it, and I couldn't. It was so hard because I kept getting tripped up on the whereas and the wherefores and the strange punctuation of those S's that look like F's. You try doing that backwards in Arabic. It's really hard. It's really hard. But the Iraqis, they actually pulled it off. And I did some research. It turned out they called up U.S. Attorney General. He said, hell, y'all can have ours. We don't use it anymore. Oh. Is that groaning? Did you actually groan for that? It's messed up. Now I'd like to introduce WHAF News. Good evening and welcome to WHAF News. We hate America first. I'm your host, Baratunde, which is Nigerian for one with no nickname. And our top story this evening. President Bush held talks with Saudi officials this week to focus on a long-range oil plan. Shortly after the meeting, every scientist working on renewable energy was killed. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, 44% of Americans take at least one prescription drug, which means the other 56% still suffer needlessly from erectile dysfunction, obesity, and feelings. President Fidel Castro announced that oil deposits were discovered off the coast of Cuba. President George W. Bush then announced that there is nothing more critical to the success of the war on terror than to bring freedom to the Cuban people. In financial news, the euro has risen to another lifetime high against the dollar. After reaching this record value, the euro phoned the dollar to ask who its daddy was. The U.S. called on Ukrainian authorities to make sure votes were counted accurately in the presidential election after fraud marred the first vote. In a separate development, funeral services were held for irony at a small church in Crawford, Texas. CIA Director Porter Goss said it may only be a matter of time before chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear weapons are used in a terror attack on U.S. soil. Following his statement, the Bush administration announced it was launching a war on time. In business news, Walmart will settle in its child labor law violation case. As part of the deal, the company vowed to never employ children again, preferring instead to sell them for unbelievably low prices. President Bush hosted Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon at his Texas ranch to reaffirm U.S. support for an Israeli pullout from Gaza. Bush is, of course, the perfect man for the job, having been a longtime advocate of pulling out as the most reliable form of birth control. Senator John Kerry said in a recent speech that many voters in last year's election were denied access to the polls through trickery and intimidation. Kerry also found that those same voters are actually happy they didn't get to vote for a man who would wait 5 months after the election to start fighting for them. It's a recent headline. According to interviews and documents obtained by the LA Times, millions of dollars have been wasted in Iraq on rebuilding efforts, especially sewage systems. It seems the root cause is an unprecedented amount of bullshit flowing into the country. Despite having declared a war on terror in 2001, the U.S. count of major terrorist attacks more than tripled in 2004, from 175 to 650. The Bush administration is hoping to reach 1,000 terrorist attacks this year so it can qualify for its free George Orwell didn't know the half coffee mug. New information released from the 9/11 Commission finds that the FAA was warned 52 times prior to 9/11 about al-Qaeda and its desire to use airplanes to attack U.S. targets. To demonstrate the seriousness of the lapse, the FAA will be promoted to Secretary of State. And finally, radioactive cargo that had been missing since October turned up in Boston recently. The shipment was headed toward Texas-based Halliburton and contained the nuclear material americium. Halliburton still cannot account, however, for the missing cartons of libertium and freedomium that should have arrived in Iraq 2 years ago. This has been WHAF News. Thank you. Feel free to clap. You guys like that? You think maybe I should write for or be on the Daily Show or something, right? You think maybe you want to write Jon Stewart and tell him that because he's not returning my calls. It's kind of messed up. He calls the cops and stuff. It's kind of whack. How many people here, by show of hands, can read? This is good. I found your common connection. Parents reading, this is great. This means you can all be potential customers for my book. And I thought I'd do a little something special and share some of the book with you. Now, I don't know how many of you remember, but back in 2001, around September 11th, I think, America was brutally attacked by a group of evildoers. It was actually the worst act of anything horrible that has ever happened in the history of horror or bull. It was a very complicated situation. You see, cable news came to the rescue, advising the American people on all their options, because an educated populace doesn't vote for Bush. So here was a headline you guys probably missed under the title, Fox Introduces Terrorist Series. Fox News has announced it will be airing a new bi-daily series dubbed, "Excuse me, Mr. Terrorist, have you tried this yet?" Each show will feature 5 heretofore unfathomed potential terrorist attacks on U.S. targets. The first show includes potential attacks on the Hoover Dam, Times Square, and Denver's Shady Creek Elementary. We will interview engineers, show blueprints, and test explosives to determine just how vulnerable this country is to terrorist attack, said show host Britt Hume. According to Fox News spokesperson Iva No Morales, the show was created to offer hope to the victims of the September 11th attacks and show them that so much worse is possible. Seriously, you probably missed that news story back in the day. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but back in 2001, around September 11th, a group of evildoers attacked this country. It was a horrible terrorist attack. In fact, it was the worst act of horror or bull in the history of horror or bull. And cable news came to the rescue, advising the American people, helping them deal with the confusing events. Because you see, Americans can't really understand the concept of plane hijacked, building crash, boom, people die. It's too many words. So cable had to cut this down to little bite-sized 3, maybe 4 words maximum. Put it in big print on the bottom of your screen in titles like Attack on America, America under attack, America attacked by attackers, America kicked in the nuts after the attack, America rising, America united, America getting a hard-on, America's new war, America strikes back, America's can of whoop-ass, America's long schlong, America gets ill, America, that's my dog, America versus the brown people, good versus evil, anthrax scare, anthrax threat, threat of anthrax, everyone has anthrax, anthrax is going to get you, don't have anthrax, you will. It was incredible. It was a very frightening time, but luckily we've gotten over all that, right? And finally, something a little different. I'm sure you guys missed this story, but then again, maybe not. Under the headline, researchers discover bullets kill mice. Suggest possible implications for humans. Researchers at Harvard Medical School have discovered that when exposed to high-velocity bullets, mice end up dead or severely injured. The report, which appears in the latest issue of Science, could have drastic implications for humans. The study found that serious injury was likely only when bullets interacted with mice at extremely high velocities.
Our lab results indicate that merely throwing bullets at mice was more likely to result in fear and annoyance rather than death.
wrote head researcher Dr. Noah N. Sight.
We had to use firearms to really jumpstart the reaction.
The study could have far-reaching implications for humans and the ways in which they interact with bullets, but researchers avoided drawing any direct conclusions from their study.
We'd like to stress that as of now, we have only performed the test on mice, which we all know differ significantly from humans in physiological and other dimensions, commented Dr. Sight. The government-funded research group has plans to run phase 2 of the test, human trials, in South Central Los Angeles, the south side of Chicago, and Southeast Washington, D.C. as soon as possible. Better than crying, folks. Thank you. Feel free to clap. So you guys like that, right? That's pretty good stuff, right? You think maybe I should write for it, be on the Daily Show or something? Maybe you want to call Jon Stewart, write him a letter, tell him because he doesn't return my shit. It's really fucked up. It's really messed up. So how many people have been to London before? Clap. Y'all are like the traveling school, actually. Everybody goes. Anyone not been out of the country? Okay, let's laugh at the person. Just laugh. I'm just kidding. I'm not a mean person. You really should try it out, though. It's really awesome. They got healthcare and all kinds of sweet stuff. It's amazing out there. So I spent a week in London, and first of all, London's like New York, but everything costs twice as much. And it's really messed up when New York becomes like the discount city. Your economy is really screwed when people come to New York to get a bargain. And so I went over there, and the British people, they really like drinking. I don't know if you guys knew that, but they like to drink. Everything kind of revolves around the pub or the mug full of beer and stuff. And I stayed with a nice family. They had a teenage daughter. And she was maybe 14, 15 years old. And I observed a conversation where she was describing her weekend. And she was saying, I'm not going to do the accent because I'll butcher it and somebody's going to pick on me about it. But she was like, basically, went to this house party and it was crazy because the stairs collapsed and everybody was really smashed. And then 30 cop cars showed up and there was a fire and they had the dogs come out and sniff us for ecstasy. And it was and she was telling this to her mother. And her mother was whatever they say, tally ho, or whatever, she was just cool with it. She was completely fine about it. And I'm just that would never happen in America because the drinking age is 50 over here. So it would be son, you got to be responsible tonight. So why don't you take my Hummer and my AK-47 and just be safe, okay? Just be safe out there. But I went over to England on a diplomatic mission. I know, suspend your disbelief at me being sent on a diplomatic mission by this government. I went over there because our representative over there, I guess he's Prime Minister Tony Blair to them, but we call him Agent 52. They couldn't trust him with this message, but I wanted to share, and I think you guys should be let in on this too. It's kind of like a secret. America has a new directive. We are actually, we're about the business of spreading freedom. I don't know if you guys knew that, but that's our new thing. That's our steez, freedom. That's what we do. And things get kind of hectic, when we try to spread this freedom, we try to hook people up with freedom, and they want to do it themselves. And that's kind of because we've been at it for 30, 40 years. You know what I'm saying? We're like the experts on this stuff. And you see people try to do it themselves. And freedom's kind of messed up because freedom, if you don't do it right, you can hurt yourself. You can poke your eye out with freedom. You got to be real careful. You see? So you look at a country like Venezuela. All right, now Venezuela, it was real messed up because the people down there, the folks, the citizens or whatever, they got mad at their government because the government was too close to America. I think that's kind of messed up. I mean, if I wanted to be a good golfer, I would hang out with Tiger Woods. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to punish me for that. So I want to be a good government. I'm going to hang out because America's the best. You know what I'm saying? America's the best. So they want to hang out with us. The people are upset. So people, they just, what they did? They stopped working. They sat on their ass and the economy stopped. It was like France on a Thursday. It was messed up. It was real messed up. And they were like, yo, we need a new president. You know what I'm saying? It was just well, how are you going to do that? And it was just, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is really messes up we got a little thing going with this freedom in America, and Venezuelans going to try to undercut our prices and stuff, doing it themselves. It kind of messes up the market. You know what I'm saying? We need a global market and stuff. And so when I'll be making these calls to Togo, trying to hook them up. I'm like, yo, Togo, I got a new package. You know what I'm saying? I'm hooking up. I got this freedom. You want some of this? I got the good shit. Yo, this is freedom. It's some good shit. And Togo's pressing me, how much it's going to cost. What do I know about cost? It's freedom. It's priceless. You know what I'm saying? You should be willing to pay anything. But Togo keep pressing me. They keep pressing. They want to know how much it's going to cost. So I give them ballpark. I'm ballpark, 50, 100,000 lives maybe, an insurgency. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because it's freedom. 'Cause you can't really put figures on that shit. You know, so I'm just like, all right. But then Togo's like they already got their own freedom. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean you got your own freedom? Like, there's America freedom. What you talking about? Like, well, we got it from Venezuela. Like, how you gonna go to Venezuela for freedom? Because we American, we got the best stuff. Well, I mean, could we hook you up with like what you want? You know, we got some other stuff. You know, you want some Foreman grills? I got some hip hop videos. So it's a little messed up. It took me a while to get over 9/11. It was a real tragic sort of incident. But it took me longer to get over 11/2, which is the election day, 2004. Yeah, did somebody say, oh, God? Yeah, okay, so now I will ask by round of applause how many people are still hurting from 11/2. It's a lot of pain, y'all. It's a lot of pain. You guys need some freedom, you know what I'm saying? And but I spent a long time thinking about how we could take this country back. I spent like 10, 15 minutes, you know, trying to come up with something on how we could fix this. And I think I've got it right. I've been perfecting this over the past few moments, and I think I'm ready to share it. You all interested in hearing this plan to take back America? Make it clap. All right, good. So the first thing we got to do, we got to realize, and you guys are like, apparently y'all are the future, because that's what college kids are. Like, I'm the past, and y'all are the future. So I got to pass on this knowledge because I'm dead already. We have to realize that like any sort of big change, it takes a really long time. Like a lot of people were really impatient. They felt like with like a rock the vote and an Eminem video, we were just going to storm the White House. And like it takes a bit more than that. And you got to have respect for the conservatives because they put in like a lot of work. You know what I mean? Imagine it's the 1960s, okay, and you're a conservative. And that's a hard life right there. Like, first of all, you just hate poor people, like, because they're not doing shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're holding back this great land of ours, you know? And then on top of all that, like, you miss owning black people, you know? Because it's just like, I mean, they're walking around freely now, you know, and they're voting, okay? And they're checking out your sister and living to tell about it. I mean, it's real hard times if you're a conservative. And to add insult to injury, you got hippies making love, not war in your front yard, okay? Smoking all the weed, dropping LSD like it's going out of style. Hell, you might think you just lost your whole damn country. So what do? You plan this big thing. You're like, okay, how are we going to get inside the heart and soul of America? Bing! Christianity's available. You're like, I got it. Why don't we retranslate the Bible as gay bash and fetus love? Because that's what Jesus would do. He would bash a gay and love a fetus. So it takes a while to undo all that. Now they've been in power for a little bit, and it's kind of like watching a group of spoiled children, and the Democrats are like the reluctantly disciplinarian parents, and the Republicans are like, Mommy, can I please play with Social Security, please? And Democrats are like, no, the last time I let you play with something, you really messed it up. But please, Mom, I want to set up some private accounts or something. And no, look what you did to the U.S. military. The Army's recruitment goals are really low. But Mommy, look what you did to Iraq, for God's sakes. You know, it's just like, it's really sad. And I put a lot of effort into that. So if y'all want to laugh or clap or anything, that'd be great. That was brand new, like today in the car. So I'm saying it's going to take a little while to like kind of undo all that. But a lot of people don't have the patience to see that through. You guys got your cell phones. You guys have cell phones and stuff. You guys have an internet or 2 or 3 to work with. And you're used to that fast-paced, like fast food. And so I've actually heard people talk about moving to Canada. Y'all hear about this nonsense? People talking about, how many people heard somebody talk about moving to Canada? Yeah. Anybody actually done it? I didn't think so. And so it's not because of a lack of courage or lack of resolve. It has more to do with Canada. I'm just saying the unemployment is twice as high as we have here. So the job you don't have here, you won't have it twice up there. And all that snow you shovel here, you're going to shovel twice as much up there. It's mad cold in Canada too. So then people say, okay, I'm not going to go to Canada. I'll go to Mexico. Right? Because it's all warm and they got tequila apparently. But you got to put up with the Minutemen with the rifles and stuff. And even before all that, it takes 5 years to become a citizen of Mexico. 5 years. We're going to have a new president in 5 years. I mean, bless you. she really wanted to be blessed because she was like, church, she was like, achoo. And she's like, achoo. She was like, hello, I said achoo. So I'm just saying, it takes like 5 years to become a Mexican citizen, and in 5 years we're going to have a new president. I mean, the last thing this guy's going to do is like change the Constitution, right? So then people get romantic, and they say, I'm going to move to France. They read a Hemingway novel and think they're going to become a French citizen, and it's going to be all romantic and gay Paris, but it's the hardest place to become a citizen is France, because first, you have to become fluent in French. Then you have to become fluent in French culture. And then you have to prove both in front of a tribunal of judges by, I don't know, eating a cheese-filled baguette while surrendering to the Germans. I'm not sure how it works. Boff, boff, boff. I don't know how it works. I really don't. But I feel like most of you guys with your cell phones and your internets and your cars, you don't have patience for stuff like that. So what is a good blue stater to do in this like crazy sea of red we're living in? And that's when it came to me. Baratunde's redistricting plan for a new America, patent pending. See, first, we have to apologize to Mexico for the way in which we stole Texas and give it back. I'm just saying. Duh. Seems like all our problems come from that one state, you know what I'm saying? Then after we do that, then we got to get more aggressive, and we call up France, and we say, look, France, because that's how you talk to another country. Like, look, what's up? Like, what's your return policy on the Louisiana Purchase? I'm just saying, it's acting up. And it was quite a deal. We bought like 800,000 square miles of land for $15 million. That's so cheap. That's the price of like a walk-up in the Village in New York. It's nothing. And why was it so cheap? I think the French were kind of holding back on us. See, they told us the land was great. They said it was fertile, it'll grow corn, it'll grow wheat, it'll grow all kinds of stuff. They did not tell us it would grow religious fanatics. You have to know that at the time of purchase or it's null and void. So what do you guys think about the long-term thing and the redistricting thing? Are you guys sort of enthusiastic about this? Or we get a little riled up, a little, woo-hoo! Yeah, mom would throw some panties on stage. Yeah. I'm glad y'all are supportive, at least a little bit, because I need that support for phase 3 of my plan to take back America. And normally when I get to phase 3, people, they run away, or they don't return my phone calls, or they have the FBI tap my phone. And but I feel like this is the perfect setting to let you know that I think we need to bomb Iowa. I do, and I've thought about it. I'm not crazy. Because if you consider it, right, everywhere that was actually hit by Al-Qaeda, anywhere with a legitimate terrorist target, like a library or something, they voted for John Kerry. And we have all these people in the middle of the country afraid of terrorism, and they don't even know what the word means. We have to teach them, people. Each one teach one. It takes a village, and in this case, it takes something blown up in Iowa. Now, some of you are crazy, but I'm not saying we need to kill 3,000 people. Okay, I'm not a madman, and that would wipe out the whole state population. Then nobody would be left to learn our valuable lesson. No, I don't think we need to shed any blood. I think we simply need to, at 4 a.m. when nobody's around, find the largest building in Iowa. What could that be? Like a silo, maybe. and when nobody's around, blow it up then. The key, make it loud and make it smoky. Because smoke instills terror. See, we're in a war on terror. And smoke is terrifying. Those folks will be voting blue faster than you can say Al-Qaeda. It's going to be it's a great plan. You can clap for it if you want. You can clap for it. I allow that. I really do. Here's the thing. The election is way over now. You know what I'm saying? And there were a lot of people who, around election time, were afraid to share their true feelings. But I think we can kind of get over that and just be, keep it real, as the young people say. I would like to have another vote, another make it clap, if you will. How many people here were actually legitimate fans of John Kerry? Make it clap. Oh, that was pretty lame. That's a pretty lame clap. All right, here's your other choice. How many people here were fans of anybody but Bush? making just like, oh yeah, woo! And therein lies the problem, people. Now, here's the thing. I actually came around to becoming a fan of Quarry. I really did, because I saw his movie. And he had this documentary. Well, he didn't make it, but it was a documentary about him. And it was called Going Up River, The Long War of John Quarry. And it was about, going to Vietnam and coming back and flipping it and dissing on, everything. It was great. And I was like, I want to see like George W.'s, documentary. So I rented Animal House. And it was really different. Let me tell you, it was really, whew, that dude can drink. Toga. But that wasn't it. I started actually listening to the man's speeches, because people got on Quarry's ass. They were like, he isn't standing up enough. He's being too soft. And I think that's true, but occasionally the man stood up, because at the convention, he was like, in some speech, he was like, Iraq is the wrong war, at the wrong place, at the wrong time. I'm like, that's kind of hot. That's like a DMX beat. Like, that's not John Quarry. Like, wrong war, what? Wrong place, what? Wrong time, what? I'm like, yeah. I mean, you can't get more direct than that. Then at the convention, the dude came out. He's like, reporting for duty. And he was like, I'm going to be a president that believes in science. I'm like, that's me. I believe in science. My car runs on a combustion engine. That is hot. Science is tight. But it wasn't enough. The man had this most incredible life story, had no idea how to tell it. And his opponent, on the other hand, was like the inverse of that. He was like 1 over that. Like, the man, I remember some stuff. Yeah. Man had a horrible life story. Horrible. Found an incredible way to tell it. It was the most compelling stuff I ever heard. Dude was like, I was drunk until I was 40. And then I decided, I'm going to be governor. Then I woke up one day and decided, I'm going to be president. And with the help of a good woman and Jesus, I did it. I mean, what pothead hippie wouldn't be proud of that story? You could drink and be president? That is just great. That is absolutely great. And the campaign, it got real ugly with the Swift Boat veterans for questionable statements or whatever they stood for. But the thing that I really loved about the campaign is that I got to see my man Bill Clinton speak again. And, if Clinton was a woman, I'm just saying, like, I saw him speak, and it was great, because I was inspired, and I was all excited. I'm like, we're going to take back America. It's going to be great. Woo! And then I got really sad. I got really depressed after that speech, because I realized that nowadays, seeing Bill Clinton give a good speech is just like running into a hot ex-girlfriend. Like, Billy Clinton? Is that you? You lost so much weight I hardly recognize you. You've been on Tybo, huh? Listen, Billy, I got to know something. Why did you leave me? Oh, the U.S. Constitution, huh? That's what my last girlfriend said. That's kind of weird. So listen, Billy, things for me, they're not going so good. I mean, I'm with somebody else now, but it's sort of an abusive relationship. Her name's Georgina, and she's real stubborn, real religious, and the worst part, Billy, like, she spends all my money on stuff I didn't ask for. I mean, you know me, we were together for like 8 years. Like, what am I supposed to do with an unstable Islamic oil-rich country on the brink of civil war? Like, I have no space for that. And my village walk-up, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of hard. The other thing I miss a lot about Bill Clinton, besides having a commander-in-chief who was fluent in the national language, which is a big thing. It's like a bonus now. I miss that Clinton economy. We had this thing once, and it was called an economy. And it might be before your time, like, because y'all are in the, you're young, you're the future. But back in the day, people had these things called jobs, right? And then they would get paid in money. And then they would spend that money on stuff. And then that would create more jobs. And it was like a vicious cycle. It was so cool. Now it's so gone. Unemployment is up. And that means crime is up. And sadly, that means more black people robbing white people. And that means more nervous white people. And that's not a good thing. Right, brother? Right? Thanks for playing the part, man. I appreciate that. But there's actually a silver lining to all this. You see, when a black person robs a white person, technically, it's not even a crime. It's what I refer to as involuntary reparations. You can celebrate. That joke goes over much better in Southeast D.C. I don't know why. I do not know why. I want to thank Caroline again for having me here. It's been quite a while since I've been allowed to address a good-sized group of white people. Not since the incident. And I was hoping, it's a kind of a low-pressure time now, considering I was hoping to ask you guys a favor. Actually, I wondered if you could do a better job of preparing for Black History Month next year. Because honestly, I'm tired of getting cards in April. They're like, "Dear Blackie, happy month," and it's just like, you're late. You're supposed to be the on-time race, and you're late on this thing. I don't understand that. Actually, I really love Black History Month. I really do, and for me, it's not about the festivals. It's not about the TV specials, like that one episode of Friends with a black person in it. Very special episode of Friends with Tyrone. Now, actually, I love February because out of all the months in the year, it's the one month when my white friends will have me over to their place for dinner. And so it's heartbreaking. It's really sad. And they don't invite me and my friends, by the way. Just one is enough. I guess it's their special way of saying, sorry for the 400 years of free labor and institutionalized racism. Our bad. And really, when you think about it, what better way is there to apologize than to invite Baratunde over for takeout KFC and Kool-Aid? Right? You know what I'm talking about? We do like it. So, yeah. I mean, I'm going to get off of that whole race thing for a second. Come back to the politics, which I guess is why I'm here. I still feel like kind of an idiot about this election. And it's like months later, I feel like this is like the most devastating relationship breakup ever. And I'm still reminiscing. I'm like, because I thought Quarry was going to win. Like, I really had it in my heart. Like, I played Mosh, like, over and over. I'm like, yeah, I got a black hoodie, and I was, like, rolling down the streets. I'm like, yeah. I rolled up on the White House like that. It didn't go over so well. I'm like, but I'm here to vote. Like, no, you're not. And I feel like an idiot because I thought he was going to win, but then I really misjudged his opponent. And I thought he was running against George W. Bush, the man with the bad economy, the man with the wrong war and the wrong place and the wrong time. What? No, he was not running against that man. He was actually running against Jesus Christ, Son of God. And let me tell you, folks, Jesus is one hell of a negative campaigner. Because, no, seriously, the way he used gay marriage on those ballots to divide the electorate like that was really scary stuff. And Jesus brought up abortion, which I thought was just way out of bounds. And I guess the first election of George W. Bush was really the icing on the cake for a great year for Jesus in 2004. Because he had that big hit movie, Passion of the Christ, which is great. I mean, for a deity to actually have a hit movie is just awesome. And I was sad to see the Oscars snubbed him. I didn't know you could do that. I know you could snub Jesus, but they did. And I'm kind of joking about it, but a lot of Jewish people did not find the Passion of the Christ funny. Yeah, you might recall. Yeah, they picketed and they boycotted, and despite this, it was the top grossing film of 2004. Maybe of all time, when all the figures are tallied. And I just think that goes to prove that even when they don't want to, Jews control the media. Now listen, everybody knows about the controversy of this movie, but few people know about the tragedy. Now, on the set of the movie, during the shooting of the film, 3 people were struck by lightning. Clap if you knew that. Just Okay, good. So I couldn't have planted that many people. It's a true story. 3 people struck by lightning. Now, some people saw this as a sign that God didn't want his son's story told in that particular way. I saw it differently. Okay, I saw it as a sign that Jews also control the lightning machine. You know you do. You know you do. And every time I start off that joke, there's a little tension in the room. People with me on the, bombing the White House, bombing Iowa. Whoa! Slow down there, crazy anti-Semitic militant black man. You just say Jews control the media? You can't say that. You're not Jewish. And it's true, folks. I am not Jewish. Obviously. But guess what, people? Some of my best friends are. And every Hanukkah, I invite one of them over for takeout bagels. So that's that. I have been a little harsh on America and just a little harsh on George W. Bush tonight. And I actually performed some of this stuff in London, and I think it was even like too anti-American for the British, which I was like, they were like looking at me funny. It's like, but I feel like I've earned the right to say these things, not because of the Constitution we used to have, but more because I was actually born on September 11th, 1977. Yeah, happy birthday. Thanks. And when I tell people this, I get one of 2 reactions. And the first is sympathy. People look at me like, oh, you poor thing. How can you celebrate life on such a day of tragedy? And I have to tell them, airfare is cheap. Traffic is light. Restaurant reservations are easy. So celebration per se isn't my challenge. Now, the other reaction I get is also interesting. Suspicion. People look at me like I did something. Like just because I was born on September 11th and I speak fluent Arabic and I know how to fly planes but not land them, or people want to think that I'm sort of a threat to national security. And the worst place you could have this sort of image about yourself happened to me at the U.S.-Mexico border. Coming back in, met up with a little overzealous Homeland Security officer. He took one look at me and was like racial profiling at first sight. And he took a look at my passport. And he saw this like African first name. He's like, huh. And then he sees this suicide bomber sounding middle name. He's like, huh. And then he sees this Anglo-Thurston thing just hanging on there like a whole fake passport package. And he just can't resist. And then he sees 9/11, and he gets this little tick. Because that's like the trigger for law enforcement. Like, you just want to go nuts if you see those numbers, and you don't want to be around them when they do. And he says to me, he says, "Sir, would you please step aside?" And I'm like, look, the man had a gun, so he had a point. So I stepped aside, and he says, "Sir, would you please state your name for the record?" And I said, "My name is Baratunde Rafik Thurston." And a funny thing happened after that. I woke up in a small room several hours later with a couple of police officers over me who clearly watched one too many episodes of Law and Order. And one of them was all up in my face. He's like, "What did you say to the customs official?" I'm like, I don't know. "What did you say to the customs official?" Didn't mean to scare you. But that's how I felt. And then I remembered. I'm like, I think I just said, "My name is Baratunde Rafik Thurston." He said, "No, that is not what he heard. What he heard was, 'My name is Baratunde Rafiki Thurston, death to America.'" And I was like, "Oh, I see why I'm here." And he said, "Look, I'm going to cut you some slack. I see you're a good guy, but it's some advice for you in the future. You might want to consider getting a nickname." That's it. Have a great night. That's the end of my show. Thank you.
A special thank you to Caroline Newbold, outgoing secretary of the Dickinson College Democrats, and Alex with, he doesn't even need a last name. He's just like Madonna. He's like Alex. So thank you. And to the whole crew who set this up, Ethan, Caitlin, Aaron, and I think, did you help Katie? Okay, so don't thank Katie, but thank these folks here because they were stringing lights and boring holes in the wall and stuff. So it was great. And if you like have questions or whatever, I'll be happy to answer them about what it's like to pay rent, about being a comic, about like voting and stuff, or like leaving the country. I can describe that process for you. Or what it's like to be a member of the cabinet. I did that before too. So if anybody has any kind of questions, I'm just going to like ask you to ask me now, or if you want to ask me or anything. That's cool. That's cool. No questions. It's great. I'm not interesting. That's awesome. Thanks. Get out of here. Seriously. Kegger at my place. I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for coming. If anybody would like to sign up for the email list.
Oh yeah.
Over here.
Buy my book. I need to get home. It's $8 and it's hilarious. And the mailing list is right here.